Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is the Organic Wormhole, episode 15. And of course, hopefully, you know all these awesome guys on the panel: Smiley's Gardens, Medically Fit, the Pharmacy Seed Network, Carlton, and our special guest today, Brownguy420, Paul Rosa. How you doing? Much respect for you. We have very much been looking forward to trying to get you on the show to pick your head and more or less say thank you for helping getting the organic movement started in cannabis. How you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. I've been super busy, but thank you guys for, getting me on the show. It's been a long time since I've gone on anything YouTube or anything live.
Right on. What have you been up to? I mean, we talked, it's been a few years ago now since we've done the one-on-one interview. And you've been an innovator now, both through organics and through the extraction process. Now, still doing, still growing.
Oh, Eagle, real choppy. I don't know if everybody else is seeing that.
Yeah, pretty choppy.
So, pretty much, what have you been up to, Paul? Have you been growing lately? Are you still doing the extraction meth? What have you been doing since you haven't been on YouTube lately? And matter of fact, just real quick, you are one of the featured channels on my channel because I do appreciate what you've done over the years for the living, regenerative, super soil, no-till type movement. And so just to kind of let you know that, if you go on there, you'll see that you're one of my
Sweet.
featured channels. So, but
Well,
what have
much
you been up to?
appreciated. It's the YouTube when I was doing YouTube, it was great. When I got shut down, it kind of killed motivation to keep going on the videos. It becomes a lifestyle, and then when your whole 5 years worth of work or so just gets thrown down the toilet, it's I keep saying like, oh, I'm going to start again, and I plan on starting. I'm just so busy once again. Went from the no-till, setting up the whole recreational farm, showing that, and then kind of lost all that stuff by bad partners. I'm the king of regenerating myself, kind of figuring myself out. I got into extractions. That's been good for the last 5 years now, I guess. Solo Scientific, me and my boy D, who's been with me forever, my best friend of 25 some odd years. Him and I just keep trucking through it. We got into the whole extraction. I'd say until about last year, we were one of the, I'd say, top two or three hemp extraction companies in the nation. It was fun, but with hemp and I mean even cannabis, just laws are ever changing. I mean, you go to bed, you wake up, and it's a whole new rule, and what makes you money today is now illegal, and now you got to pivot really hard and figure out how to save your company. And over the last 5 years, it's been a learning experience, and I'm, honestly, I'm getting a little too old to keep pivoting every other month. And so what I've decided to do is kind of step back from large manufacturing, helping everybody, everybody's product lines out by giving them the best distillate I can possibly make, best, line choice of cannabinoids. And I'm now kind of, like I said, I'm getting older. I just turned 44, and I'm trying to focus on building a brand. So I'm putting all my efforts into organic, an organic line of hemp products, tinctures, salves, pills, things to help you sleep, things for pain, things to get you high that are, nationwide legal, like Delta 8. THCA is kind of a craze right now, like putting them in the vape pens and all that stuff. But I'm trying to focus on products that actually work. Having like 10,000 milligrams of CBD in a lotion is kind of unheard of. When I research on the market, most people are around 2,000, and that's like 2,000, 2,500 max. And I'm trying to go above and beyond, so they're overwhelmingly helpful for people. My town, I've kind of, paraded them around, sponsored a couple. I'm a big golfer, so I've sponsored golf events to help people with their back pain, elbow pains, all that type of stuff. And it's been locally a pretty good hit. So it kind of influenced me to, since I want to slow down, to kind of push out the product and kind of brand myself out there. It's been years, but people still kind of know my name. But at the same time, it's like, just start all over. I'm good at doing that.
Well, maybe it's coming back on a couple shows like this and getting people to revisit who you are and like what you've been about and what you've been doing over the years.
Yeah.
Like some of your products you're talking about, where are they in dispensaries? Are they at like gas stations where like I can go to a local gas station and get CBD products here in Colorado, or I can go to dispensary or a CBD like place just itself to get CBD products. So
Yeah, so what I've been doing right now is I built a website, solo-cbd.com. That in its own, building a website is a whole nother entity of its own. There's a lot of SEO work and all the background stuff. It costs a lot of dang money. But I'm kind of trudging through that, working slow manufacturing for people to kind of fund the whole website development. Branding, boxes, doing all this stuff costs money, and design work and everything. So right now it's either word of mouth, or you find out that I have a website. I've been all over the place. I'm actually doing merchandising now. I have so many friends that have hemp farms, cannabis farms, all that, and they pay so much for labels and merchandise, shirts, hats, all that type of stuff. So I actually started a merchandising company helping all my cannabis and hemp friends save money on labeling and cups, and I do glasses, promotional glasses, stuff like that. They're laser etched, all that. You know, if you like cannabis, you like to get stoned and just like geek out in this stuff. And with me, it was lasers and having fun and all that stuff. And then friends are like, "Hey, can you print me labels?" And then I'm like, "All right, I'll go get a printer." And everything snowballs.
I think that's pretty awesome. That's finding a niche and filling it right there is a great way to kind of diversify, your overall portfolio. I'm kind of curious, out of all the research you've done, is there in particular cannabinoid that's through your research kind of raised your eyebrow that isn't necessarily more known or talked about that we're hearing about besides, the CBD, the CBN and all that? There's when I spoke to you the last time, if I remember correctly, you were kind of like mixing and matching the cannabinoids for the in particular person you were working with, and I still think that's the best way it can be approached. Are you still working with medicine like are the cannabinoids like that, or and again back to which one have you kind of? Has there been one that's raised your eyebrow that we don't normally talk about?
Honestly, I'm pretty big on my CBNs. They're great for sleep. I can't tell you how many. I mean, a lot of it's women who, women they tend not to turn the gears off when they're sleeping, and they just anything in their head will keep them up all night. And so my sleep tinctures have been a huge hit with men and women, but a lot of women, because men are we tend to just hit the pillow and we're out for unless the house is on fire, we're sleeping. But that, and then if you correctly use CBD, CBG all in conjunction with each other, because one helps the other with inflammation. They're kind of one's not isn't better than the other. Putting them together is what really works. And then you know, rules and regulations. THC is actually great in like lotions and stuff for pain, but because of crossing borders and all that type of stuff between states, interstate transfer, whatever, it's federally illegal. But my caveat is you can put Delta 8 in there, and now Delta 8 is legal to go across state lines. So that's what I've been doing is pulling out the Delta 9 and then replacing it with Delta 8 in the lotions to where they're just as effective as anything else and getting it to people other than just in Oregon, because I want to get things across the nation or in other countries or whatnot, rather than just locally and helping some people.
So now, are you growing your own hemp, or are you like getting it from other suppliers and then just using the product?
So I have he's turned into one of my best friends. His name he owns a farm called Fern Valley Farms. He's local around here in Oregon, Southern Oregon, where I'm at. And he's fully organic. I love it. He's kind of like that mom and pop type thing. He's not, when I worked for Hemp Town, we grew 550 acres. It was great. I got this crazy organic, massive agricultural experience. It's kind of what made me realize that once again, I'm getting too old to be sitting out in the field in the 110-degree heat, rotting out there, checking on, it was like a million plants, it was insane. But my buddy does about 40 to 50 acres a year. Wonderful guy, all organic. He's about quality products also. And when I met him, I was like, "Wow, you're organic," and I, was helping him. We were crossing ideas with organics and how to make his crops, better, nicer, natural resistance to pests rather than using anything else. And so when I need any product, I just go to him. And he typically, right now, him and I are setting up a lab together to where he's gonna have all the equipment to wash all the biomass. Then I have all the distillation equipment to purify it, make it, the potency higher. And then he's gonna be now vertically integrated within his company, and then I'll be able to just purchase, crude from him and make it into my products. So I know exactly where my product comes from.
So for most of our like viewers and people in chat that don't know you, Brown Guy started 11, 12 years ago on YouTube or longer.
Yeah.
And he started in a little shack greenhouse that he was showing those videos. That's how far back I remember following you. Like
Actually started in a shed.
a shed?
Yeah. And then I built a little tiny greenhouse in my backyard, and it just got bigger and bigger, and I just got so intense into it. And I was doing, I mean, at the beginning, I was doing deep, was it DWC buckets or whatever, the deep water culture or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
And I was using all these nutrients and advanced nutrients, and then Botanicare, and it was just this, you're kind of going on that fine balance of like, am I spending more money to grow weed than to just go down the street and buy it from the guy that's slinging the pounds? And then I started getting into organic nutrients. I was like, okay, this is a little bit better. And then it was uh, you know Subcool, which rest in peace, got me into the super soils, which I thought were fantastic, but they were still expensive, super expensive.
Oh yeah, because I mix up the recipe and I'm spending a couple $100, like $300 to $400, just to make the recipe anymore. It's expensive.
Yeah, and but with the nutrients, I was in a rabbit hole, always looking for that, the terpene profiles, the flavors, all that stuff. And it wasn't until I got into Subcool's super soil where I was like blown away. I mean, the first time I tried it, I was like, oh my God, I've been growing for like 2 years. And I mean, actually before that, when I was in Arizona, I was doing hydroponics and everything. And so for many years, I was looking for that. And it wasn't until I went that first year of an organic soil, and it blew my mind. And I was like, this is it. But it was slightly cheaper than using like an advanced nutrient line, because I mean there's like 14 bottles or something like that to an advanced nutrient line. And
Well,
then but
I know
And then
my down to earth products last longer than the bottled nutrients. They'll
you
last
know,
me a year or longer.
yeah, and DTE products are right here in Oregon. And once I came here, I saw them in every co-op, the Granges, everywhere around here carries them because they're a local product. And it's from Subcool's products, I went into kind of DTE products because that's what built my Subcool Super Soil. And when it comes to something like hydroponic and something that's been chelated, um, you give it to a plant and you'll know tomorrow if you screwed up, if it burned it up or whatever. Organics is a little bit different. It's 2 weeks later, you're like, shit, what happened? And you got to like kind of go back to what you did, how much you inserted into your soil, because it has to break down by the microbes and everything will break down that content. If it's too hot, they'll burn. And so I got my feet wet with that, and then once I kind of kept digging around for the cheapest way of building soil for the highest quality, best smoke, and then to where it's like it's cheaper for me to grow it than go buy it from the guy down the street. That's where the no-till kind of kicked in, and that's when I really started like reading those books. Back in the day, I was reading Jeff Lowenfeld's books and everything online, and teaching everybody true organics, and it blew my mind. And at that point, I was literally growing pounds for $20, $30. I mean, the worms did the work and they work for free. You just give them top dressings and they eat it and do it for you, and it just blew my mind. And so I decided to share it with everybody else because it was kind of a new thing. Everyone was so wrapped into the bottle,
Yeah.
and I think one of my series was breaking the bond from bottles or something like that. And that's what it was just me trying to get away. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're not going to do that. You can't do that. You got to have the nutrients," and over 500 acres when I went into hemp, we did it all organically. So you can't, and we did it with, I mean, what blew my mind is we did it with minimal amounts. I mean, what I would do to typical cannabis, we went down to a tenth of that, and it still grew amazing plants. Be that it was hemp or cannabis, it's still you don't need as much as everyone says you do, and you can grow on a dime, literally.
Have you ever tried anything with foliar feeds, using foliar feeds to help like amplify your soils and your plants?
Yeah, I've used a lot of like fish emulsions on the foliar feeds. The plants love it. They tend to respond almost immediately to it. As normal, you want to do it, earlier in the mornings. Kind of veer away from the nights because you can promote mold and stuff like that in the nights. But I when I worked in South America, I learned also that you can foliar feed whenever you want, and night, morning or night. At that point when I was down there, it was 100 degrees, 100 degrees outside and 100% humidity. And what I did was build a greenhouse in a greenhouse, and unfortunately they didn't want me recording stuff, but the first greenhouse controls the outside environment. The second greenhouse controls your environment, and you have ozone generators and dehumidifiers inside that second greenhouse, and the ozone generators will kill all mold spores that are inside the area, and then you have your dehues that'll allow you to keep everything kind of fairly dry. I mean, at 100% humidity, those dehues are rocking and rolling to their max, and you're getting it down to 50%, but it's not completely optimal, I guess. But I never had mold, so.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm doing here in my labs. I bring all my outside air into the AC unit first and then to the space. So it's like dehumidified and cooled. And then it keeps the labs and everything cool. And then they all exhaust outside. Just
Yeah.
made that switch this year. And man, what a difference in like comfort and plant comfort and everything. So interesting you mentioned that high humidity. One thing you should look into when you get a chance is the point of deliquescence relating to foliar feeds. Because the higher the humidity, the longer the plant has to absorb that nutrient. So that high humidity on that overnight actually lets you take up more nutrient.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. And then I found that foliar feeding from the bottom of the leaf tends to work better than the top of the leaf.
Yes, because there's more stomata on the bottom, so you're
Yep,
affecting more access area or surface area, basically.
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That high humidity thing must have been some challenge down there.
It was I was kind of worried about it at first. I mean, you go down to a country that you have no clue what you're doing, but they're hiring you because I mean, essentially it was because of my YouTube channel. And people were like, "Oh, you need brown guy," and then when these people call me, I'm like, uh, yeah, I'll take on the challenge, like, but at the same time, you get down there and you're like, and you got to literally swallow the air to breathe, and you're just kind of like, oh boy. And honestly, I learned it from a fan. I was talking on a chat or something, and someone who followed me chimed in and said, "Hey, I used to grow in South America, and this is what I did." And so I kind of adopted what his advice.
That's funny because like there was a building company I worked with a while back called Inertia. They built double envelope houses out of yellow southern pine because of the thermal mass. It's that same effect. It's like house within a house, and then it gives you this shell, and you're not doing much heating or cooling. You're using the passive airflow. But it's funny, like to go from the northern climate to stay warm, you go to the southern climate, you're just trying to extract humidity out to do the same thing, basically, right?
I'll tell you what, the humidity's I'm not a fan of it. But I'm getting hired to go down to Uruguay. I was in Paraguay. Now I'm getting hired to go down to Uruguay and set up some extraction facilities down there. So I'm looking forward to going back down. That's a wonderful country. You hear a lot of crazy stuff, South America, cartels, all that. And, I'm not going to lie, they're there. But usually when you're doing your own thing and it's a legal part of the country, you get left alone. Stay within the cities. But Uruguay looks beautiful, so I might be going down there for like a month to set up some extraction stuff.
Yeah, haven't you also, did you go to Spain at one time for like the Spanish Cup or some stuff years
No,
ago?
I really want to. I've tried to get out there with the Humboldt Seed guys. It's just, with me, I get so dedicated to work and stuff that I just can't, to leave and go have fun. I'm so married to the task at hand, and like fun sounds fun. Gone a couple times to a couple events and hung out, and it's fun. But when you get so inundated with work, I don't want to chance it because what happens if there's a problem and no one knows how to solve it and you're way out there.
So over the years, what is one of the biggest thing you learned about trying to work for somebody else and set up a whole grow for them just to have them steal it from you and your YouTube channel?
Um, you know, I've had people give me contracts saying that they own my name, they own my channel, they own my who I am. I understand when these like music artists say that people try to take away everything from them, and I mean
They want to
it's
own
it's
your
crazy.
likeness.
Well, and uh, I never really thought I was anything all that great. I'm just a guy who grew some weed, and then I got into hemp, and it's just vlogging. I never really thought that when the younger generation says that I'm like a pioneer, the no-till thing, and I'm just like, I mean, that's God's work. I just help spread that out, I guess. When it comes to I've when I coming out of growing out of your backyard and jumping into like I wanted to get into this whole recreational market and all this stuff, and with me it was I can't do this without an investor. I don't have the cash. I don't have anything. I was a paycheck to paycheck kind of guy. And so, the kind of a gift and a sin at the same time was that I had my name. And so I was able to get investors, and I recorded the whole thing, and it was this amazing thing. There was a huge glut in the market though, so the prices of pounds went down to like $300 a pound. It was insane. For no one gave a crap. Oregon is so big about organics, and no one gave a shit about it. And it was just a glut in the market at that time. Prices have gone up a little bit, but um, those investors kind of blame the market on me. And um, when they did what they did, and I had the what I called the final grind, it hurt. But at the same time, I'm not. You know, the long followers have always known that I always pick myself up and just move on. I look at it as, that's not what was intended for me, you know? So I moved on, and then I started my own, I got into hemp. I went down to South America. And then I came back up, and this hemp thing was exploding. And I was like, wow, look at this. We can grow 50, 100 acres, like this is insane. And at the time, it blew my mind because I'm like, it looks like identical to cannabis. Like, what the hell? And I mean, even now, they're indistinguishable until you smoke them. And so it just blew my mind. I wanted that large organic agricultural experience because then I figured that would help my resume. I can go work for wineries, hemp, cannabis, whatever I wanted to. It's a big leg in. So I did that with a bunch of friends who had a farm. They wanted to help me get back on my feet, and they did, and I appreciated that. And then once they started extracting, that's when I was like, wow, I want to do this. And so I started that. Did very well for about 2.5, 3 years. And then I brought in a partner who wanted to help expand that. And same thing kind of happened. And um, there's the saying, screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, shame on me. The first time was I learned that I can do whatever I put my mind to, obviously, and I don't need the money because the second time around with the extraction, I didn't need the money. I just had to have the hustle. I was working 15 hours a day in a hemp field for my buddy, and then working another 5 to 6 hours by myself, sleeping for 3 or 4 hours a day. And everything I made on my own on the side, I reinvested into more equipment, more equipment, more equipment. So the organic growing and organically growing the business, it worked. And so I knew I can do things on my own without these big time investors that want to take, more than 3/4 of your equity of your company. And then
Right on,
the
dude.
second time I learned that, honestly, you don't need partners, period. Because, that was the name of solo. The name of solo was doing it on your own. If you want it done right, you do it solo. And that's what I had originally said in the beginning. And no matter how cool someone can be, greed always comes in, gold fever. That's what I always call it, gold fever. And so that's what actually caused me to step back, be a little bit more, brown guy, be Paul, and start up a product line and a merchandising line and all this other stuff that I know I can do. I'm like the most outgoing introvert you'll ever meet. I'm an oxymoron, like I'll go out there and I'll sell a paper bag to a paper company, but at the same time I get home and I just want to hang out at home. Um, so I'm great at selling myself and my capabilities, and I know that when I do something, I do it 10,000%. So with getting screwed with all this stuff, I know that there's a percentage of people that'll be like, "Damn, that sucks," I call it Uncle Rico. If you ever watched Napoleon Dynamite, I could have been a quarterback and all this stuff. I don't dwell on the past. I live for today. I don't even know what tomorrow has to hold, but I'm happy for today. I don't even
Those,
know if I'll be alive tomorrow.
those are
So
good. I'm sorry to
what's that?
interrupt. Those are good life lessons, man. I've been through a lot of similar stuff, and I'm at the same point. Like, no partners. Like, I can do this solo, and I'm going to do it solo, and I'm doing fine. Like, I totally can resonate with that whole concept. So great to hear
Well,
you say that. It's like nice to hear someone kind of out ahead of you say that.
and I learned that when I built the extraction company, it was just me and my boy D. We were hustling. We were working 12 to 14 hours a day, but it was, we come in, make some coffee, hang out, talk, smoke a little bit, get to work, do our work, meet our quotas or whatever anyone needed, and then go home. And it was fine. And, maybe I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was constantly investing in myself. So my money was stacking in the form of equipment. But at the same time, I didn't really have any worries. I just, I made a living, my boy D made a living, and that was that. Once I brought in a partner and there was this idea of just exploding, becoming this crazy company, uh, like I said, we were, second or third largest extraction company, or conversion company, distillation and conversion company in the nation for a minute there. Um, the bank account's way up there, and you're like, wow, there's $1 million in the account. But at the same time, when you have to make $100,000 to make a dollar every month, what's it worth? You're running around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to find people to do business for, and you're caught up into that kind of like that corporate grind of trying to you got to feed the beast. And that's where, I like I said, blessings come in disguise. Like once we were in it, we were in it. And then now that everything's kind of like just with, partners split up happened and all this stuff, it made me say, you know what, I was better off when I was small, and I'm not trying to build my brand into some mecca brand that's, in every store out there. I mean, it would be cool, but at the same time, I don't want to have 20, 30 employees underneath me either, because once again, you get into that thing where you're more concerned with making money than living your life and enjoying your life.
Because you're trying
with
to
me,
keep
right?
them employed at that point.
I take a sense of gratitude, and when I have employees, I treat them well. I'm, once or twice a week, I'm barbecuing for them, saying thank you. If we're having a good week, I throw a $100 bill at everybody, type of thing, and everybody loves it. Everyone, that's ever been employed by me, I would like to say that they love me as a boss. But I love taking care of people. It just makes me feel good that my hard work is not only taking care of me, but it takes care of other people. My parents were broke. They didn't have anything except for a paid off house. I got them to sell their house, have a nest egg, and move in with me and my wife. I mean, my wife and I just got married. I mean, it's just like, and I'm like, hey, look, we're gonna take care of my parents for the next 30 years. It's like, but it's one of those things that pay back the parents. They took care of me. I raised hell with them as a young kid, so I'm doing whatever I can to, take care of my bigger family. My boy D has 3 kids and a wife, so making sure he takes care of that. I just want to kind of get it down to a smaller area to where my overhead's smaller. Small jobs are big money because big jobs are little money in the same essence. You can do a big job and make a $30,000 paycheck, but really, how much of that do you put in your pocket? But if you do a small job for $1,000, you might take 700 or 800 of that home and then put it in your pocket. So the profits are actually better when you're a smaller company.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. What are you taking? 20% or 8% of the total, right?
yeah, and I mean, crazy enough, it's taken me 44 years to realize all this, but but I mean, that's life, isn't it? I mean, I hear a lot of people say you don't learn anything until your mid 30s.
Dude, I'm just finding in my late 40s, I'm starting to like put things together and like, oh man, I wish I had figured that out at 22 instead of 47. Like,
Well, it's what I say to my kids, and I'm like, I hate to sound like a parent, but I know you guys know it all, especially with your phones and stuff now. But there's a reason why kids don't run the country. It's because you don't have life experience. And I've learned life experience by getting my ass kicked a lot, but you don't success comes in many ways. It could be that you're a multimillionaire. But it could also be you've reached your quality of life that you want. And I've reached the quality of life that I want. I take care of my parents, my wife. You know, we just bought a house. I'm so happy and grateful that I actually own a piece of property, you know, and I go into work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I get out by 2 or 3. I go golfing and I come home. We cook a nice healthy meal and we watch a little bit of TV and go to bed. You know, like I like that life. I don't need anything more than that. You know, I'm here pretty soon. I'll be making T-shirts and crazy things. I make crazy putters engraved by lasers, gold plated. You know, like I'm just trying to enjoy my life these days.
See, years ago when I lived in Las Vegas, I used to run a nonprofit, and I had to build the nonprofit. And the thing that I did with it was I had to find people to fit positions that I didn't know how to do or understand how to do to help the nonprofit run successfully, because I can't do everything. I don't know how to do everything. So it was easier for me just to bring somebody on that knew how to do those positions within the nonprofit. But now that I do electrical, it's easier for me to subcontract some work out to somebody else and not have to have that as an employee, and just pay the subcontractor what he's looking for and still make money off that subcontractor.
Yeah, then you have a fixed cut, right?
Yeah. And then, you know, like there's certain things you can't do. I'm sure you can find some people that you can hire it out to help with it, where it's not really an employee, but you know, you just writing it off as a business expense, paying somebody else to do it. Yeah.
1099 or something, yeah.
Well, you got my heart with being a Sparky, man. I'm a master electrician by trade.
Hell
I've
yeah.
been doing I've been doing electrical since I was 11 years old, man. Roping houses, bending pipe, doing all that stuff, dude. It came in really handy when I was growing weed. I'll tell you that.
Right? Exactly.
Dude,
You know?
those electrical skills come in so handy for growing.
Oh, dude, you know, and then I got into low voltage, like relays and all this stuff, and it was just I built myself into this crazy monster. Anything with a wire, I wanted to learn, but
It's
you know,
fun.
that's kind of, I guess that's kind of like why I take so many chances with my life, because I know that I can always fall back into that trade.
Right.
There's plenty to eat when it comes to being an electrician. You know, I mean, most trades are. You know, and but yeah, you know, it's a good trade to be in, buddy. You know,
Oh, my side work alone right now, I'm just so busy in side work. Like
yeah,
it's helping pay to, like, I just bought a house like you were talking about a year ago. And now I've put a new furnace and central air in it. I've bought other stuff that I needed to do to it, all with side work, because working that 9 to 5, it's just hard to pay for shit by yourself.
yeah. You know, and to add on what you were saying just a little bit ago about, you know, delegating work to certain people, you know, like with me in this merchandising company that I'm doing, it's kind of what I do. You know, the CBD company is really easy. Me and you know, whenever I get down on product, me and D will just like whip up a bunch of product and then put them in their bottles, put the labels on, and they're done. With merchandising, I have a couple lasers. I have a screen printer. I got an embroidery machine, soon to be like a vinyl printer plotter cutter that makes stickers and all that stuff and labels. Um, what I like to do is, like, I learned and, you know, got really good with the laser, and then I put my boy D on it. Now I've got this whole beast of a screen printing machine, and I'm gonna learn that, and I'll be doing all the t-shirts by myself, by hand, and then I'll bring someone in and put them in my place while I move over into embroidery and stickers or something, and just keep doing that. And then my 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 whole idea to that is that if somebody decides to say, hey, look, I'm gonna better my life and move on, or hey, I'm going here to make more money, whatever, you know, I'm not left hiring somebody that knew how to do something, and then when they leave, I'm like, oh God, what do I do now? So I like to learn and master everything, and then I move on and I put someone in my place. And with the merchandising company, I can be good with like 4 or 5 people, and including myself, you know, and I don't have to be big. I could just do that. Profits are good in merchandising. And they're not bad at all. So with me, it's you're right. You got to put people in place. You can't do it all yourself.
Well, one thing I did like about Soul when you brought on Father Mike, God rest his soul, because I got to meet Father Mike later after watching him work with you at one of the High Times Cannabis Cups, and we became really good friends after that. Even till the day he passed away, him and I would always kind of chat back and forth on Instagram. So, that's some of that stuff, like bringing people like that on that the community gets to see. I like that. That's pretty cool.
That guy was a great dude. I've known, dude. I'm 44. I met that guy when I was probably 18. And I was just like, look at this dude. He's smoking tree trunks. And like, I was like, how are you still standing? And then on top of that, he's eating like, a bunch of edibles, a 500 milligram candy bar. I'm like, oh my god. So I had to bring him onto the farm and everything. And then when he went back, I don't know, we kind of lost touch for a while. Then we got back together. Everything was good. And then I heard, and then all of a sudden it was just, we were gonna like do another collab together, and then he was gone, and I was just like, what the fuck, and I had to get a hold of his kids and his wife just to. I didn't even know he was sick. I didn't know. I think he just passed away in the night.
Yeah.
And I just, my heart goes out to him and his family because that was tragic. It really sucks.
Yeah, I still keep in touch with his wife, Ruby.
Ruby, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, good people.
Yes, very nice people.
Yeah, very, very good people.
I just want to point out for people, they should not let it go by that you stay directly involved with every part of your business. That's very important. I've seen so many business owners make a mistake where they do that thing where they hire somebody else, that person becomes the expert, they move on, and now they don't know how to do their own process. It's really smart to stay directly involved.
When I was in my early 30s, I I said to myself, I'm like, why am I going a million miles an hour with my hair on fire every day? And I tried to slow myself down and minimize the work and not do so much and not keep my plate overflowing with different kinds of work. And I found that I wasn't happy that way. And so then I overloaded myself again because I like constantly working all day, getting a ton of projects done. And when I grew the extraction company into this beast, I found that I kind of got um, pulled away from the meat and potatoes of the company, and I found myself sitting behind a desk for almost a year and a half, and I was just pushing paper. And I go out in the morning, make sure people knew what to do. I come out at lunchtime, make sure everyone was good, cook them lunch, do whatever, and then everyone would go home, and I'm still in that office, making sure that the paperwork's going through, money's coming in, talking to those guys for that next job. And now that I'm down into what I am, I'm like, I don't ever plan on sitting behind a desk for more than 20 minutes a day. I want my hands dirty.
Sounds like you got it dialed in and you're happy. That's awesome. That's where
Super happy. Super happy. Like I said, all things happen for a reason. No matter how bad anything may seem, you just weren't meant for what you were doing, and you were meant for something else.
That's damn straight. Take the message and move on. I'm with you on that.
Yep.
Paul, over the years of cultivating, what are some of the things that you learned not to do?
Honestly, don't care so much. When you care too much and you're constantly all over the plants and you're constantly flipping leaves, look at what's that burn, what's this, look what's in the stem. It's a little brown mark. Oh my God, a dot. What's this bug? Like you get too involved, you tend to ruin things more. If you let the process happen, and like I used to preach back in the day, was these plants were here before us and no man ever took care of any of them. You know, it's not until man started saying, "Hey, you need this bottle," and "Hey, you need that bottle," and and all these things. And they said, plants need humans. Well, then humans got too involved.
I
So
like to
my
tell,
biggest thing was take a step back and let the plant do its own thing. Now, if you come in, your plant's just "Whoa," and like getting all crazy. Okay, let's figure it out because you got it in a pot and you got to figure something out. So
I
but
like
too
to,
much care tends to be a bad thing.
I like to tell friends, stop interfering with nature.
Exactly. Well, and that was the best thing about, you know, I used to do, when I started, regular soil growing, super soil, all that stuff, I was in a pot and you still got to dump that pot out and you still got to re-amend that soil and you got to put it back in the pot and you got to do all these things. And then later on, like when I was on the rec farm, Grassroots Pots was making me those 4x4 cloth pots, and they're like 4x4 by 15 or 16 high. And I never had to replace that soil because it was like my own little ecosystem. And you'd have all the roly polies, the worms, everything. It was just its own little living piece of soil, literally a living piece of soil. And it was amazing. And all I had to do was harvest right next to it, plant another plant, and then by the time that next plant was time for harvest, the trunk of the other plant pulled out like a toothpick, and I just threw it back in the soil and let nature have its role. That's what really opened my eyes to you really don't have to do much, and when you get the soil dialed in, like the no-till natural living soil type situation, you're gonna do the hard work the first crop. After that, it gets better and better. The soil's getting sweeter and sweeter. Joshua Steensland, good buddy of mine. Uh, I think he's probably had the longest, living organic series I've seen, and he's living proof that I mean, you just keep the soil going. You don't have to keep adding stuff. You just throw on some top feed every now and then, and let the worms and the microbiome do its thing.
Treat it as a giant petri dish, right?
Yeah, yeah, and when like I said, when you see a bug and you freak out about the bug, like when you get in the living organics, there's all kinds of bugs, and things blew my mind just sitting there watching living organics because like you'd see bugs going up your plant and you're like, oh my God, is that some sort of infestation? And you see where they're going and it's under a leaf, and then you see that you actually have a couple like spider mites in there and they're literally harvesting them, eating them, and bringing them back down to the soil. And at that point, that's when you're like, holy shit, I've got like the biodome going on here. It's the bugs are taking care of your problems. And that's why I say like don't meddle too much. Let natural organics play its role, and you will literally grow the best plants you've ever have. And back in the day, I used to say I would show people how to grow your soil, and at that point, you can grow whatever you want in your soil. You can grow weed, you can grow a fruit tree, you can grow whatever you want. Because that's really where it's at. We're growing soil.
So
With that being said, here's a good place for somebody to say, I bought a piece of land, or I want to take my grow to the outdoors. How do I properly assess what I got and where to start?
I mean, when I got the rec farm that I had, my whole plan, so the reason why we chose that piece of property in the first place was, well, the guy who sold the property, it was agricultural property. And then the rules in Oregon are if you have ag land and you want to upgrade the house, you're only allowed to knock down the house to one standing room. And then you can build onto that one standing room. But this guy wanted to knock down everything and build his whole house. So he deemed the land unagriculturable, and it knocked it down a grade in the agricultural like the grading factor. And
Yes.
he proved you have to prove that kind of stuff, and he proved it by the land was pure clay, and he wasn't lying. It was complete clay. And then he built his house and everything. And one of the things that we did was we're the team solo at the time. We were the first people in Oregon to move back up, like take that agricultural license and upgrade it again. Usually they've always, once you downgrade, you can never go back up into that commercial ag land. We fought the county and everything and finally got them to say okay. And my fight was I'm an organic gardener, and there's no way you can tell me that land is unagricultural, because just because it's clay doesn't mean it's bad. Clay is full of all your micronutrients, all your metals, and I know people say heavy metals are bad in your plants only if you chelate them. If you let your bacteria be like little miners and chip away at it, it's good.
I was hoping you would say how good the clay is, because that's what I have here, and it's a great soil, man.
Plus the cation exchange, calcium uptake. Yeah.
Those clay colloids are the shit.
Well, and that's what I told people is, it's, through, you can buy, a bottle of, quote unquote, organic material, but you can't put true organic, inserts into a bottle that's liquid without it going bad in like a couple of weeks, So there's a form of chelation going on that makes it shelf stable. But then when you feed it to your plant, it's like the Slurpee straw of nutrients, because a fertilizer, in another way means instant results. And like I've told people is like, well, we can eat hamburger and it's good for us, but if we go eat and like processed meats from McDonald's and stuff, you're gonna get overweight. You're gonna get fat. You're gonna do that, and that's like almost like the example of chelation. If you're all just eat, well, you're gonna get big. Well, are you healthy because you ate all that stuff? No, you're not. You're unhealthy. So it's better off if you take it slow. You don't eat so much. You watch what you intake, and that's what it is with a plant. And so my original farm we grew in pots the first year, and then after that's when everything went south on me. But the plan was to do daikon radishes in that soil. They're called soil busters. Yes, and they're meant to break apart the clay and wedge it out. And then you let the daikons rot, cover the whole land with hay, and then it's 10% organic matter every year. And before you know it, within 5 years, you're going to have nice, fluffy, organic soil. And that was the whole plan. It just whittled away before I could make it there,
You can do it even faster than 5 years. If you use a few cover crops and some foliar feeds, I've seen soils change in a year and a half. Man.
Yeah. My plan was to take whatever the living soil that we grew in those pots. I was gonna put holes, take an auger, put holes, put that living soil in there, and let that just kind of spread itself out.
Yep.
And it's like a virus. It just keeps spreading across the land until you had the most farmable land there is.
Yes, it is.
Yep. Right. I mean, they say what the earth is only covered in I think it's like 7 to 10% of good agricultural land, and half of it's under concrete in Los Angeles. And like, what were we doing there?
Well, I just want to go back real quick to that where you're talking about the difference between like the liquid nutrients and overfeeding and from the soil. There's another difference there, a subtle difference that we should understand, and that's that you're getting microbial metabolites from microbes in the soil when you do it in a living soil, and so they're getting, like you're talking about that spoon feed, they're getting it in that process at the behest of the plant. Actually, the plant's calling the shots on what communities are operating and pulling nutrients for it. So,
and that's what I was preaching to people, was that the microbials will take care of, the rhizosphere is like the force field of the plant. It kind of sends out the soldiers, and the soldiers go and kind of bring in what they want. they bring in the protozoas, they bring in whatever they need. So they're either making the nitrogen or they're making the potassium phosphorus, and they it's like an army of ants, just in a micro size. And that's that. I mean, I think I remember one of my videos where I was like, people would keep asking me about my pH and everything of my water that I'm watering with, and I looked over and they were frozen in there were some pH meters frozen in a block of ice, and I was like, there they are. And I was like, last time I checked the water, it was like 9.0 or something, and people would tell me that you can't water with that. And I was like, I'm watering, and look at the plants, they're healthy, like it's that little force field, and they dictate, it could be 9.0 over here, but it's 6.5, 7.0 in that rhizosphere. The bacteria is doing it.
Well,
Once again,
that and the fungi both will make it either alkaline or acidic, because fungi like more acidic. So
Yeah.
just around their little area,
Yeah.
it can be, individually changed as well.
It goes right down to the microscopic level from what John Kemp from Advancing New Agriculture says. He says it's like it varies right directly in the root zone on a microscopic level.
Yeah.
So to get your base pH is good, to have to be in the range, right? But outside of that, it's really like the microbiology is doing the regulation.
The fungi is an amazing thing. I used to have so much fun watching, like I'd lift up my hay beds and that cover crop. It was almost at the point where you're like, oh my God, have I done it too much? You're like, what's this gonna do? But but my plants were just, I mean, the leaves were up, and usually you're like, oh, that's at the beginning of the day, and then they come down, and they would sit for 3/4 of the day like that, and they were just so happy. And I'm like, don't fix what's not broken, like it's they're obviously super, super happy plants.
So let's talk about your little bit time on the Grow To Roundtable, because that was a great time. Like, I really missed some of those days. We had 700, almost 800 people watching the show live at times. It was just like a really good time on YouTube in the Grow community. And you were a big part of that.
That was great, and that's, it's, I miss those days. Vader was awesome. The videos that guy put out were just, they were comical. They were amazing. That guy, he's a really cool dude. Dago's awesome. I've kind of lost touch with everything. There was a point, I mean, at this point in my life, I like, my YouTube doesn't really have anything cannabis hemp related onto it at all. I've been in the industry so long that it's like, I'll tell you right now, to be honest, it's full of, con artists and snakes, back in the day, this was gold, you shake hands, it's 100%. That's how it was back then. And the legalization of it all has just brought in too many con artists, used car salesmen, all that stuff. It's just, everything's so, you want distillate, you're like, it's water clear. They're like, it's a shade off though, man. It's like, I need a 50% discount on that. And you're like, what? Like, it's just gotten just so convoluted, and everyone's a prima donna. And the roundtable days, we were just having fun. We were all growing. We were living our life, having our fun, selling our pounds if we, need money. It was I guess more less responsible in a way, I guess, and more just having a good clean time. Those were good days. I love those days.
Yeah, it was interesting, just like watching that grow over just a year and a half time, and the popularity that and the following that it just, like, it was like a little cult itself almost. Like, every Friday night, everybody that was like in the Grow community was there and chat or trying to get on the panel and talk. And it was a good time because everybody really was communicating about their grow styles. And it didn't matter if it was fucking organics or bottled nutrients, because everybody was there. And
I was there to just have appreciation for the growth of the plant and what we did,
Right.
it's not to say that, anything's better than anything. If you grew good weed, you grew good weed, it was really fun. It was really, really fun. And to me, that was like the peak of it all for me. Other than that, now it's just become work. I'm happy
So
that I've
true.
lasted so long in the industry. It's really cool, because back in the day, it was like you got to quit selling that weed. You're not going to do anything in your life. And I was like, it was like going to college, I was selling weed, and that was college for me because it all got legalized, and I knew the industry. It's been my life. But those days were, it was just, we were right there at that threshold, right before it got legalized, and everything was at its peak. And then we all kind of ran off to do companies and to do, start our own, what I called microbreweries. It was like our mom and pop shops, or, try to build a brand. And, I mean, it's evolution though. I don't even know, does Vader still make videos?
Yeah.
He
Dago?
does, but not as often.
Oh yeah.
Dago's mainly on Twitch, not so much on YouTube. Pedro's still on YouTube. He's been doing a lot more stuff with Fergroli. They do a
Yeah.
show like Friday evenings, kind of after the wormhole's over. Um, yeah, so there's still a few people around, but it's nothing like it was. There's not a panel or a group that's brought the community really together like that did. The Bubble Man used to on Hash Church,
Yeah.
but that was the
Yeah.
only two things that really brought a lot of people together. And it's sad that I have not been able to see that same group come together anymore.
That's like I said, that was the peak, man. That was right before everything got so corporate. It, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, there's nothing better than trap weed or something. Like someone who grows it in their basement. But it's not about where you grow it, and it doesn't matter if you grow it in your basement or you grow it in a 10,000 square foot warehouse. It's about the love and the dedication that you do it in. It's when prohibition of alcohol happened, everyone was brewing whiskey, vodkas, everything out in the woods. And then prohibition hit. There's still those people. They're still out there. There's shows on that the people are moonshining out in the woods still. But with the end of a prohibition, people tend to want to, say, hey, look, I want to get out of that illegal essence of it all. And I want to be able to, that was the best feeling for me and Dee, was that we don't have to look over our shoulders and out the blinds anymore, type of thing. And so I never really thought about making myself some Fortune 500 company in cannabis or something, but it was more or less building myself a nice little mom and pop shop, not a Budweiser type thing, like a boneyard. That's my thing. It's an Oregon beer. It's a craft brewery. Amazing beer, and they're small. They make a living. They have their employees. They have their little families, and they're good. And that's
Boneyard's awesome.
where and that's yeah, Boneyard. Great. I haven't drinking a beer in a year. I don't know if you guys have ever like watched stuff of me on, I don't know, Instagram and stuff, but I got fat. It was from all that IPA beer, man. I had to stop smoking. I haven't smoked weed in, oh man, 6 7 years probably. My asthma's too bad, and I can't eat edibles. Edibles take me to the moon. Um,
Change your
so
doses.
I just drank beer because hops are the sister of cannabis, and you kind of get the same effect. And I gained a lot of weight, and just until recently, I just lost 45 pounds now. So it's I'm getting back to normal. I don't want to be as skinny as I used to be, but I want to be healthy, live longer. But like I said, it's when we were on the round table, it was right there before the tipping point into everybody having an opportunity to start a brand. And really, like I said, there's people that don't like that, but then people that watched all of us grow on the round table, if you're, and what was Vader was from like San Diego, I believe, or somewhere down there. And if you're in San Diego and you can go into a shop and buy his weed that you've been watching for the last 3 years him grow, that's fucking awesome. Because you'd still before that, you'd still have to know somebody that knew him to get some flower from him. So for people to be able to go to find Fragoli's weed or anyone, it's really cool to be able to actually smoke their weed when you followed them for so long. And but the caveat to that is we kind of lose that social media niche, because at that time, like I used to say, YouTube was our resumes. I mean, because you can't say, hey, I've grown here and I've sold weed to all these people because that was called incrimination. you know, and so it's yeah, that was literally the peak of it all. And I mean, now it's like it just seems like everything's kind of slowed down on the social media platforms. It's more or less on Instagrams. The Instagram, you're able to go into your garden, snap a photo, make a 10-second video, and move on with your day and your business.
I want to interject on this one. It sounds like across the board that, and I see this quite a bit in cannabis. It's the industry, it's that money level. That's where the shysterness is kind of coming in. When we have to kind of part with what we love, because it's hard and it's still, for Growley's an amazing example. You know what I mean? Still kicking it, doing an amazing job, but still hard to get into the matrix and do it on a big level without inviting in the money side, the risk side. We become profit. That's when the love starts to kind of, I don't like this anymore now that it's kind of swinging into a profit kind of a thing. When you can kind of keep it into that love thing, like you're talking about, keeping it more small scale, knowing that, yeah, I'm not trying to make $1 million, but the product I put forth is amazing. And I've saved, a lot of people, it's had an effect. You know what I mean? And when we kind of spin out of, the love of what we're doing and the smallness of it, and we have to try to generate and bring more money into it, and that's almost 100% where it seems to kind of go wrong is, we can't keep it into that small craft. We just want to fucking sustain. I just want to make a living. I just want to keep the lights on and do what I love. And it's getting harder to do that without pulling in the industry. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. There's a huge difference in cannabis community and cannabis industry. All right, there's a lot.
And and you're 100% right with that. If I was able to give anybody watching this show, anybody advice, if it's my experience, I'll tell you 100,000% do it yourself. It sucks, everything. If something is labeled THC, hemp, anything, you might be able to buy this canister right here for 30 cents, but once it's a cannabis canister, it's $10, and it really sucks. Because it really seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel when you're by yourself and you're just this lone soldier, maybe you and your best friend, like me and D have been. And, when someone comes in and says, hey, bro, like I've been doing my own hustle and I can get us into this building and I can do all these things. It almost makes you feel like, wow, okay, I might actually survive at this. But what ends up happening is what I've found, and I actually had when we got big and I brought in, my partner, my attorney said to me, he says, when you bring in a partner, it's a marriage, and I was engaged to my wife, and he says, you gotta, before she was my wife, and he said, I know you're engaged with her, but you're being a partner with him, so you're getting married to him now because this is a marriage. And I said, and we were like, yeah, 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 yeah. And but like he said, is there's always going to be somebody one of the other thinks that they're doing more and they're doing less, and the other guy thinks he's doing more and the other one's doing less, and it becomes this thing of like, well, I put in $100,000 into your company. And you're like, yeah, but I'm here 15 hours a day growing all the plants and making sure that we have a crop every couple of weeks. And it becomes this, who's the better guy, and it just becomes this thing. And then eventually something snaps, and then you go different ways. And in the end, you personally would be further in what you wanted to do if you didn't have to take 100 steps back, because now that partnership broke in half, and now you lawsuits happen, all this stuff. And if you have to hire a lawyer, the only people that win in a lawsuit is the lawyers. They're the ones walking away with 50 to 100 grand in fees. If you thought that there was no light at the end of the tunnel, well, look at where you're at now, that you had to step way back from where you started. You went up here and now you're way further back from where you started. You gotta, you know, you can do more by yourself and maybe with your homie than you will ever do with a partner. I mean, I'm going to tell you, less than 1% make partnerships and it's solid. The rest of it is junk, it's bullshit, and it's going to fall apart. And if you're only making, let's say you start up and you take a mortgage on your house and you do all this stuff and you start up your own little craft cannabis company, and you're hustling every day. At least you're doing it for yourself. And if you're bringing in $75,000 a year, I mean, I could be out, wiring houses for the same amount, but at least I'm doing cannabis and I'm having a good time. And I'm doing what I love. There's a yin and yang to all that stuff, and the delusion of grandeur gets to everybody. Oh God, this is going to make my job easier, but does it really? I'll be the guy right now to tell you, don't let someone con you into the jumping into your hard work. You just keep investing in yourself, because you will never screw yourself over. And if you only end up being a guy that makes 50 to 100 grand a year, you know what? You're good. And you'll if you can make that last 20 years, you can sell that for $1 million to retire. Because it's a solid company with solid customers. You have, 30 dispensaries to buy a pound of weed every other month from you. That is how you set up your retirement plan and how you build your own little mom pop shop. As you
Well,
bring it,
There's a
that's
word
one
of
thing.
wisdom, man. Words of wisdom.
That's one
Excellent
thing I've
advice.
watched over the years on YouTube with people building relationships and trying to go into business and it failing. And then they slander each other against all the YouTube community. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, we watched you guys build and grow and thought this was going to work out. And now do we got to choose sides? Like it created such division in the community even.
But
Yeah.
you see a lot more of that than we're such homies and we're all this stuff, because it doesn't usually end up in something like that. And then maybe something doesn't really get said, to respect to the other person, and it's usually because of lawyers that don't allow you to say what really happened. But it's more that than it is like the two of us have become some monster team and we're really crushing it together. And that's why I say do it yourself. Even though you feel you're not making it and you're working your butt off, uh, honestly, like I said, I've been up there, and I'm more happy down here working 12 hours a day. For myself, my hands are dirty. I've been painting things all day today, etching glass, doing whatever to make my living, and I'm happier now than in that huge hustle.
No, Eagle, you're muted.
I agree. I think at some point that we have we've taught our kids and society in general to chase that dollar instead of chasing what they love to do. When you're chasing something that you love to do and you do it with passion and you do it with well enough, the money will fall into place for you. Now, when
Well,
I've
there's
heard you talk so far tonight, then when I seen the excitement on your face when you picked up the gold plate, the gold inlaid thing there. Now you've found a niche all around your industry there that needs to be filled, and you're already enjoying what you're doing it. I can see that right there already being a great side endeavor for you because you're still enjoying what you're doing and you're filling a niche that needs to be fit amongst friends. You're trying to save them some money. You're enjoying what you do. No harm, no foul. I can see that being a great adventure for you. And that's the way it should be. You should be chasing your heart and loving what you do and not necessarily chasing it for the money that you could make in the process, I think people have it asked back.
Sorry, my allergies are going nuts on me right now, but it's you don't have to be rich in the pocket, you can be rich in life. That's, to me, that means everything to me. Is like you said, I show off the putters, I show off my stuff, and it's like, to me, that's I'm happy doing it. And if I make $5 off this glass and I make $200 off that putter, to me, I'm super happy over all that, and that's my quality of life. I don't have to be rich. I've seen $1 million in the account, and it did me no good. It didn't do me anything. And I used to tell people that I was the brokest millionaire you'll ever meet, because I invested into myself, and I had $500,000 to $1 million in equipment and all this stuff, but I was still essentially paycheck to paycheck, job to job. My overheads were so huge that I wasn't really having a good time. So for me, I earned a house out of all that, so I'm happy with that. But now that I've shrunk myself down, I'm actually, I feel like I've been saved, not having to do that huge business anymore, and to be doing these quick, really cool, ornate things. I'm glasses, putters, guns, everything. It's and necklaces and everything. It's to me, that makes Paul happy, Brown Guy happy. We're building out our whole yard out here. I get my organic fix, planting plants, trees, all that good stuff. My mom still smokes weed, so like I'll throw a plant in the pot and grow her one good plant, and then we'll cut that down, harvest it. My mom gets to smoke it up. And but like I said, it's about quality of life. That's really the number one thing for anybody out there, just your quality of life. And that doesn't have to be in weed. It could be wiring houses. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be, plumbing a house. It could be art, A
It's
lot of
what you
artists
what you enjoy the most.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
And most people, they take their hobbies and make them careers because that's what they're happy doing.
Yep. That's exactly it. Or like as an electrician, a lot of times you work for the man. My problem is I always busted my butt so hard. And I was like, one of these days I'll become a foreman, and I'll be the guy in the nice clothes and driving the nice truck, checking on all the crews. But instead, I was always down in the fields, working my ass off. And I was always like, why did that guy get promoted? And I've been here longer and working. And they're like, well, you do such good work, we don't want to lose you in the field. All the customers asked for you. And I'm like, so I'm getting penalized for being a good employee? So someone like me would say, and this was back in early 2000s, I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm starting my own electrical business. And that's what I did, until 2008 hit, and then the economy crashed, and then I had to reinvent myself, and that's when I went to cannabis. But yeah, it's sometimes you got to go solo.
So where do you see yourself at in a few years? Are you still going to be doing extractions? Are you like still wanting to be a part of producing like these hemp products?
Yes. So, in the next 5 years, my hope is to build my so I have two goals. One is solo CBD, but I've taken myself from solo. It was Solo Scientific was the company. Now I'm Solo Nutraceuticals, because cannabis and hemp are great, but there's so many more plants that help us, and we're finding that the extraction, you're making curcumin is wiping out cancer. The American mandrake plant, for someone who does have cancer and they're going through chemo, you can take and grind up or even extract the American mandrake, which is a weed. It grows everywhere, and that plant, it naturally will expel radiation from the body. So with me, I'm trying to expand my knowledge on, homeopathic, apothecary, whatever you want to call it.
Eastern
I
medicine, in a
I
sense.
do a lot
Yes.
of I do a lot of stuff along those lines too. I'm always trying to build my knowledge base, and I'd love to talk to you more about that, like at some point.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's. I mean, we've been healing ourselves for hundreds of years that way,
Yeah.
and Western medication has kind of said, "Oh, no, 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 no." But I I
A lot
guarantee you, I'm
more.
not the only one out there where your moms and grandparents are over there having a little powwow talking about all the damn pills they're taking. And I went to school and have a master's degree in molecular biology, like purifying pharmaceuticals. When I got out of college, I said, "The hell with these things." I was like, "These things will kill you." And it's you're taking this pill because of high cholesterol, and then it lowers your blood pressure. Now you're on blood pressure.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're taking 30 different pills, and it's rotting out your liver and your kidneys, and you're living a horrible life. Like me, I don't even take multivitamins. I actually I think it's called Heart and Soil. I buy desiccated bovine cow organs like heart, liver, spleen, blood platelets. They're all grass fed from New Zealand, desiccated into a pill. And that's my multivitamin. That's my aminos. That's everything.
And they're
Um,
properly chelated because of it.
your body takes care of it. And
Yeah.
I haven't been sick and who knows how long by
Right.
going to natural vitamins. The natives, they would say they would kill something, and like they would kill something, and they would cut out the heart, the liver, and just take a bite out of it raw, because that was where all the vitamins were. It's where everything was to sustain your life. So like with me, the nutraceuticals fits me better than just like CBD, because there's more that's just one plant out of thousands.
It's many tools in the toolkit, basically, right?
Yeah. So in 5 years, I guess this touch back on that is to build the nutraceutical company and to build out the merchandising company. I really have a lot of fun with the merchandising. I can't wait to get into t-shirts and make some really cool, like it'll be all on one website, but like no-till shirts, other shirts, influential shirts, put in the work type shirts, like don't depend on people, depend on you, like just influential types things. And I plan on just keep going with all that stuff. That's in 5 years. I'm hoping that I'm still doing this, and I know I will, because I won't. I'm just that kind of person.
So
I'm
have
just
you heard of Dr. Dedi Miri out
No.
of University of Tel Aviv? They do a lot of cannabis research on specific cannabinoids that they find that are actually killing cancers. Some that, like for a man, pancreatic cancer, some cannabinoids work and some do not. And so they've done a lot of research on kind of finding specific things that are helping to really fight different strains of cancer, and ones that are not, and definitely finding that like men and women are different, even taking the same strain, that it still may not work when it will work on others. A lot of great research from them. Dr. Bonnie Goldstein would be another one. If you haven't heard of her, she's out of California area. A lot of research with children and autism. And she talks highly about CBN, CBG, CBD. So that would be somebody else to kind of listen to if you haven't.
I've looked at, so here's a little something that, I mean, if anyone's watching this that has a big company, they're gonna jump all over this, but whatever. So I'm sure you guys have all heard of THCP. The feral THC is what it is. So if you smoke THCP on its own, it does nothing. right? So the thing with THCP is it's called a positive allosteric modulator. It it emphasizes what it's with. So I mean, the industry mixes it with THC, Delta 8, HHC, the stuff that gets you high, right? So you get higher. And I'm, whatever, that's cool. I don't do a lot of that stuff because everyone else is doing that, right? Where I'm at is I want to mix it with CBN, CBD, like crude or RSO is what a lot of people call it. The acidics, they don't get you high, but THCA, CBDA, they're good at, like they said with COVID, the CBG, CBDA, uh, covered that spike protein, kept you from getting the COVID or whatever. I was totally against all those shots and vaccines. So I was like, I'll just eat keef because keef is your acidics. And so if you were to take something like crude that's very good with killing cancers, reducing tumors and stuff like that, mix it with a positive allosteric modulator, there you go. Now it's 30 times more potent, so it'll help you better.
So that's like, I deal with a lot of the mushroom industry and world with cultivating right now. And for years when we've taken sarin root with it. And what that does is an IMO inhibitor, so it slows down the breakdown in your body, so the mushroom high lasts longer and it's more intense. So that's kind of what you're saying, like the THCP is doing with these other. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it's in the same way as like, I mean, I'm sure you guys have all heard like people say, if you eat an edible or someone smokes weed for the first time to have them take CBD because it brings them down. That's a CBD is a negative allosteric modulator, so it brings you down. It fights the high to bring you down. So the industry is so weird. People just throw things together, and like THCA is a big thing right now because it goes all over the country. And everyone's like, mix it with CBD, it makes it great. And I'm like, well, you're kind of like fighting this thing. You're trying to get people high, but then you're kind of bringing in CBD and bringing them back down. And I'm like, don't you want to get them high? You're still gonna get high, but like too much CBD, you get tired. And most people want to enjoy your high. You don't want to. I mean, some people want to smoke and go to bed, but you're trying to get people high.
We've had that at parties, where we're all smoking and some of us are just, oh, I'm so tired. Here, smoke some of this, hemp shit, the hemp flower or something. It'll kind of help wake you up a little bit. No, really? Yeah, try it. And they've tried it and oh, yeah, like I'm not so tired anymore. I'm not so groggy. I'm a little bit more awake.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like CBD will pull you out of a high, but too much CBD will make you go to sleep. For a while there, and to be legal, people were having the the 0.3 or below THC in a gummy with all this elevated CBD. And I was like, below 0.3 THC. I was like, fuck it. And I ate a couple gummies and it gave me the most weird feeling. Like I literally just sat there like, oh my God. And I just wanted to take a nap. Like I never wanted to take a nap more than when I ate those. So great for sleep.
I got some of that THCP and some gummies from one of the local guys I know has a gas station. They sell all sorts of CBD stuff. And I've been trying that like with some smoke and with some of my THC edibles. I tried it alone. It really didn't do much for me, but with the THC other edibles and chocolates, boy, it's a cool addition, and it's like a nice calming effect. It's like the energy's still there, but it's calm. And it's interesting to hear. I hadn't heard all those different combinations of CBD and CBG being able to bring you back up or down. I didn't realize all those interactions were there. So that's awesome.
Well, in the industry, I'd say we're at a like a gluttonous stage. I mean, people are taking flour and spraying it with distillates and then rolling it in the isolates and then adding another something else on top of it. I mean, I'm seeing flour that is red, white, and blue. Like they're rolling it with food coloring, and it's so gluttonous that I'm just kind of like, wow, we've really like kind of lost the whole purpose here, you know?
I'm glad
And
that you said it like that. Gluttony.
Well, it's
I've
like
been saying
eating
that for a
Tide
long
Pods,
time.
right? It's
yeah,
like eating Tide Pods, right? How dumb are we to really eat Tide Pods?
it's and you know, I was I mean, I'll tell you right now, I killed my asthma was fine. I smoked all the time. It was good. It was fine. I ruined my lungs by taking dabs. When I got into BHO, we were like, oh, gotta test the product. And we were doing 15 to 30 dabs a day at, when we were blasting, and it destroyed my lungs. I was always a guy that was fine with just smoking a good old joint. You know, you know, don't even get me on testing. There's no such thing as 50% fucking flour, it's a fallacy, and it's
Not even
bullshit sealant.
30%. I don't even think we're at 30%, honestly.
No, well, I mean, you got to think about that. The THC comes in the form of the crystal. It's not the plant. It's the crystal. It's the trichomes. So you gotta have this like bulbous plant, and it's like, oh my god, what? Like I can't even get this out of the bag. It's so sticky. But when you're smoking regular flower, it was good for me. So I don't even know what these. I mean, these people are getting blasted off these sprayed and rolled and re-rolled flower buds and the moon rocks. Like if you like it, great. I just you know my best friend D, his wife, because of all that stuff, she liked it. She liked the smoking the diamonds, all the dabs, all that stuff. But she actually got the CHS, the cannabis hyper syndrome, and
Yes, yes.
she was being hauled off in ambulances every other night because she couldn't stop throwing up. She would have to be in the bathtub with hot water running on her. It was the only way to like calm her down and not be throwing up and not be just like in convulsions. And we never saw that until we got into these extreme extracts, And so, it's with getting into where we're at and the science of it, and the extractions of it, it has to be done responsibly, or else, with anything, people can get hurt.
Well, let's just equate that real quick for people. Like, if you were to do that with like a mint oil, man, it would burn your skin. It would burn your
Oh
skin.
yeah.
Like you're doing the same thing with the cannabis extract. You have to understand how potent and powerful that concentrate really is. Like,
So,
it exists in nature in that concentration for a reason.
For me,
Doctor,
that's it all, man. When you see you're smoking that extract or that rig, and it forms that sheet, literally a fucking sheet of plastic in that rig that it takes, an alcohol or something very strong to break it down in that rig. That's what's forming in your lungs. You know what I mean? You take, like you're saying, Paul, there flour there, and you smoke it out of a bong. What you're going to pull out of that bong is a soft, tarry substance that your lungs will, kind of take in. It doesn't form that sheet. It's a medicine at that point. It's still absorbing. And again, in my opinion, now to speak to like I'm a runner, Paul. I run today. I smoked 4 joints before my run. I stopped midway, smoked another 2, if not 3, and then ran again. Now, if I take dabs before or after, I'm so heavy chested, it's all up in here. I have trouble breathing for days after dabs, but I can smoke flower and it doesn't seem to affect my lung capacity at all.
well,
See,
according to
I
Dr.
never.
Ethan Russo, he talks about it's gene related to 5 specific genes. If you have these genes and you heavily smoke cannabis daily, especially concentrates, it's more people that smoke concentrates more than flower and the full spectrum, that those are the people that are seeming to express the cannabis hyperemesis syndrome symptoms.
And so if they're genes, then technically nutritionally they could be turned on and off if you figure out what the right diet is to turn them on and off.
But he's also saying it's not related to like neem oil or pesticides, because a lot of this cannabis that people are still consuming was organically grown with no pesticides or chemical spraying at all on it, and they were still having the same symptoms and
It's
problems.
technically like a cannabis overdose. it's just too much. And I will say that I think a lot of it does have to do with your diet. I've cured a lot of things by fixing my diet. I don't
Thank
eat
you.
fast food.
Thank you.
I
Thank
I I don't eat processed foods. I eat, good clean meats. I'm mainly a protein eater, meat eater. I try not to take in those like the polyunsaturated fats, the enriched breads, all this stuff like they're not good for you. You
Grains in
know,
general. Grains in
yeah,
general.
yeah. Well, I mean, even down to let's say a chili pepper, we all love spice and stuff, but a lot of times, I mean, that's the defense mechanism of the plant to not be eaten. And animals don't eat it. And then you go eat all this chili pepper. What happens the next day? You're sitting on the toilet going, "Oh my God, my shit burns," and you're like, and you're shitting fire. But and what that is the plant saying, "Hey, don't eat me," but yet
We
what are we doing? We're eating it because we love it. But
Or,
that
or
and
okay,
we
mess around and find out.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Fuck around and find out, and it is because it's things saying don't eat me, but we still eat them. And then just once again with that human intervention in the foods, we've manipulated foods to feed everybody or whatever, and now they're trying to not let us raise beef and eat lab grown meats and like, oh no 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 no, let's not go that route because you're going to see a lot of bad things happen. Keep it the way it was and everyone will be fine. You can beat a lot of ailments, you can beat a lot of stuff by just being a clean eater, healthy diet.
And see, we've talked recently on the episode, I don't know, two or three back maybe, about certain vegetables that aren't really good vegetables to eat because they're toxic and they cause inflammation, and our bodies weren't designed to break it down or consume them.
Nightshades will cause a lot of inflammation. Once I stopped eating so many nightshade vegetables, I like my back hurt for forever. I always had this pain all the time, and I chalked it up to getting older. But as soon as I stopped doing a lot of vegetables, my inflammation went away and my back pain went away. And going, more protein. I sprinkle in a little bit of carbs here and there, but we were meant to eat meat. That's what we were supposed to do. And I don't get sick. I feel better. I'm actually, you said, Eagle said he's a runner. I wake up and I work out for, 45 minutes to an hour every morning now. I got to the point where I could lift a 25-pound box and I would walk across the parking lot and I'd be out of breath. I had acid reflux. I had, GERD, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night choking on acid from being unhealthy. I kind of just lost myself by being so busy. I just started eating crap. And now I've reversed all that. And, like I have like a homeopathic doctor. She had told me she took some blood tests and said I was a walking, talking heart attack. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And they wanted me to do all this stuff. I said, let me just get healthy. And I went on to natural vitamins of the desiccated cow organs and all that stuff and started working out and all that. I just had my blood done a couple months ago, and she was like, wow, your liver functions, kidney functions are at 99.9%. My blood oxygen levels, 99.9%. She was like, this is unheard of for someone your age. Testosterone levels are up. Everything was up. I'm healthier. Having asthma, I'm on a treadmill today, and I don't have to hit an inhaler anymore. So the better you treat yourself and you know what you put inside yourself. I mean, vegetarians say, oh, you can get your protein off lentils or something, and
You
it's a
can't.
massive pile of lentils, and you're going to eat 15 pounds of lentils, but you're only going to assimilate like less than 1% of that, and you're going to defecate the rest of it out.
Well, there's
So
also a difference between complex and essential proteins, and
yeah,
they're getting mainly essential and not the complex ones that they need from meat, and that's where they
yeah,
start having problems later.
yep. I mean, I just heard on the news that there was a vegetarian family and they're feeding their baby only vegetables and the kid died. You know, I mean, it's Even with meat, you can do that. I mean, I think there was an Alaskan tribe. They called it rabbit starvation, and they had plentiful rabbits everywhere, but there was no fat
Well,
to eat.
hey, and let's talk about that too. There's another detail there too, is the quality of the food that's being grown there can be much higher fat content if it's grown in the right conditions. But with the practices that we're using with chemicals and what we're doing to suppress biology, you'll never achieve that. So if you're eating vegetarian only, you're depriving yourself of all of the nutrients and the fats all in one shot. You're not getting
Well,
really a gain in
eating the fats are providing you with the collagens and
right.
the essential vitamins that give you good hair, nails, skin, all that stuff. You
Exactly.
know.
So for example, for people to understand that, like, so a really good, like a normal production for milk fat is about 4%, right, on a regular piece of grazing land. But if you tune that soil right, you can actually increase that milk fat in 30 days to 8%. You can actually double the total fat coming out of the land just
Yeah.
by tuning that soil and getting rid of toxins that are suppressing it.
Oh yeah,
Just wanted to
for
reinforce
sure.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Mr. Smiley, awful quiet there.
It's just been a great conversation, man. I don't know, not much to really add to it. It's been awesome hearing from Brown Guy. A lot of shit going on. It's cool.
Well, honestly, with these shows, I go into everyone going like, God, I don't know. I've been out of the game so long, and like I don't even know what the hell I'm going to talk about. But they always end up this great conversation. This just a good time. You know, these are actually really good, really fun to be in. So once again, thank you guys for inviting me.
Well, and that's
They
like
are
having
really fun.
several different people to keep the conversation going and keep the questions rolling, because each of us all kind of have different questions that we want answered from you, and see what your response is. And that's what I think really makes the conversation just keep rolling so well, because people that really have a good idea of what we're discussing and can keep the conversation just going and going for hours. Because even though it's coming up on 2 hours, like, it doesn't feel like it.
Ah,
And that's the best part about having these conversations, is because you can talk for hours and all of a sudden, oh shit, it's 5 hours later. Like, it just feels like we just sat down and smoked a couple joints, and where'd the time go? Like, it's just such good time and such good conversation.
for sure.
Well, I greatly appreciate it when it comes to risk you took. I mean, you were putting out your content there. Well, it wasn't a serious time to do it. Everybody had risk to lose, or things they were risking, and it was easy then to lose everything. Still is. Cannabis isn't federally legal, but we still take the chance of putting it out there. But back then, things were greatly, you had a bit much more to lose back then. And there wasn't anybody out there doing what we were doing. And that's what makes you stand out, is a pioneer, brother. It's again, there was a niche to be filled, and you stepped up and you filled it. You helped us understand what you were doing, and you're helping not you want to help people succeed, or you see things succeed. You were showing everybody then, very transparent, how to build a business, how to build a farm, and you know what I mean. That's why I still remember you, and that's why I still have a lot of respect for you this day. Your transparency in it all, and your will to see other people succeed. So it was an easy choice to people like we want to talk to. Yeah, this guy right here, one of the people that helped bring us to where we are now. So cheers to you,
Well,
Yeah, that
brother.
was that was the thing back then. Like you said, we had a lot more to lose, and hence the handles, Brownguy420. Like now it's, I'm Paul Rosas. So, like everyone knows my name now, and because once like the YouTube stopped, I tried to get back into it, making some videos, and I was just like, screw it, my name is Paul Rosas. Like things are legal where I'm at's legal. Like I don't have to hide anymore, and it made it easier. Like I said, I want to get into the videos again. It's going to be a little bit different though. My videos are going to be more or less like kind of like vlogging, like the hemp. I'm going to be promoting my buddy's farm because I'm very intermingled with his farm. Um, it'll be pretty much be his stuff, me promoting my product lines and showing all the creativity that I can do through the merchandising thing, and trying to drum up business through social media is kind of my thing, because I've been throwing a lot of money through these SEO people that build websites in the back, and I'm like, God, I don't know. Is that stuff dead these days? Because the people that actually sell their products and stuff really are just social media influence people. I mean, I follow guys who are screen printers, and I was like, wow, this guy, like a guy I follow, is in Canada, and he has a shop on his land, and I'm like, this guy doesn't even need a storefront. And no, it's because all his business comes from the social media. It's coming into him from there.
I yeah, I used to do IT work, and we did SEO and websites for big businesses, really huge, expensive sites. And yeah, the thing I would tell you is don't waste your money, man. Use the social media. It's all free and everybody's already using it. It's hard to get them to even go to a separate website anymore. That's
Well,
my
that's where I went to school and got my certificates in like web design and all that stuff back. You know, it's all useless knowledge now because it's
yeah.
progressed
Flipping
so
a page
much.
every day. Yeah.
But part of that background programming back in the day were the hashtags. That's what the SEOs were doing. And then when hashtags became a thing, I always said the SEOs got lazy. They were just like, hey, let me throw out a fad. It's called a hashtag. And then when people were like hashtagging, I love my life. This is great. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, you want to bring people into what you do, you hashtag the nouns of what you're doing. You know, cannabis, marijuana, hemp, tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, the things that describe what you're doing. And that's what, when people are on the computer searching, that's how you pop up.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of what got the Brown Guy 420 channel getting up and going. Because when people search no-till, I had a hashtag,
Yeah, dude, that's
living
how I
organic
got.
soil, all that stuff.
I got my YouTube channel, similar kind of thing, like just using those, like, fit into your genre kind of, and then just keep expand, make sure that the word phrases keep fitting what the content, right? Like
Yep.
the more you can
Yep.
match those up, the more you hit that SEO magic thing.
Yeah.
Well,
You
and
don't
I
really have to
think
do all.
I think
Oh,
some of
sorry.
the content of the farm and you building that,
Mm.
that was a lot of what people enjoyed watching too, is you building that brand.
Yeah. I had a lot of ambitions for that too. I mean, that would have been epic. If I was still there, that would be one hell of a place right now. It would be the organic paradise in my book. It was I was out there with the drones, and it was awesome.
Where are
You
you
know,
at again?
what's that?
Where are you at in the country again?
Southern Oregon, like
Oh,
Medford, Ashland area. Honestly, it's the best place I've ever lived. It's you got perfect seasons, best growing weather, best growing seasons. Yeah, it's a wonderful place. You can be an hour and a half from the ocean. You can be an hour from the snow, the woods. I can drive down the street for 15 minutes, hop in the river, go float down the river. It's got everything you want, except for cities. I don't need a city.
I'm the same way.
Got a little bit of a question for you, unrelated to well, most everything we've talked about, except your merchandise thing there. I heard you mention being in the screen printers kind of chat or watching a lot of their videos. Have you dealt? How far? My question is, what kind of embroidery machine you got, and how far have you dealt down into that that mess, basically? Uh,
With embroidery,
yeah, yeah.
I just last week I bought, it's called a Racoma embroidery
Yep.
machine. It's a
12.
EM1010. It's a 10 needle embroidery machine. I'm kind of going through YouTube University right now on how to do stitching and all that type of stuff.
Remo.
I,
Remo has got a nice series. If you would like, I'd like to send. I'll send you a link to that cat. I got
okay.
involved with embroidery like a few years ago, a friend of mine, uh, I was doing some carpentry work for her, and he's like, "Hey, you can fix a lot of shit. Could you help me with this machine?" And his Racomas were messed up at the time, and I ended up looking into how to fuck with those machines, and I got fascinated by them, man. The machines, man, you put the program, the picture in there, the graphic, and just let them go, and the fucking money that can be made in that embroidery. You can take a hat like you've got on, take a $5 hat and turn it into $120 hat with a few hours of embroidery. The type of puffy stitch, different shit. Like that. It's a
Oh yeah.
crazy little right there, man. And it's something that again, you just put the garment in there, hit start, and it's making money while you're playing on the computer with your whatever. You just kind of listen for the beat, but
Back
yeah.
in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, embroidery machines first started coming out. My mom's a seamstress, and I was like the guy in high school that had the embroidered backpack with peace signs and little pot leaves embroidered in. And it was just a single, like a regular sewing machine that did embroidery. Nowadays, they're like full blown machines. They hold like 10 to 15, 20 spools of thread. They're just switching out colors, and it's insane. I mean, I'm having fun with the hats right now with leather patches. That's all laser engraved leather on my hat. My buddy that I work with his farm and everything, I made him this this for a hat. It says the stoke is high, and he had a 420 sale, and he everyone had ordered a certain amount and got a hat. Like so I started with like the laser etched leather, and now the embroidery I'm like totally hooked on because you can. I mean, it's endless what you can do with an embroidery machine.
This is kind of funny. So I embroidered his hat. I embroidered Smiley's hat. All on one of those Racoma sheets there. Because
Yeah,
they're pretty
yeah,
fucking. But yeah, something else I picked
yeah.
up.
It's awesome.
What's really funny about that is I got some friends that make cat toys with a similar setup like that, and they were buying catnip, like this premium catnip, because they like outperform the other catnip for people coming back and their cats like loving it. They saved some seed, and I did some in the lab, and now I'm going to put some out on the farm. And they want me to grow all their catnip exclusively for them, so that's kind of the cool shoot off of the embroidery kind of thing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, now the merchandising's a fun thing. The creativity is endless. It's actually funny. I got my coffee cup. I finally got down the tumblers. They're like actually engraving them. Weirdly enough, that was like the hardest thing for me to learn because you melt that powder coating to the stainless steel and it'll look like crap. And today I finally was like, well, I should try that again now that I have all this experience. And I was like, holy crap, I bought one home for me and the wife. I was like, hey, check it out. And it's fun. I love learning. With YouTube, you don't even have to go to college anymore. You just learn from there, man. Whatever you want, it's at your fingertips.
I think it's awesome how this plant kind of keeps us relevant. At many points, and I think all of our cannabis grow careers, it has different peaks where it kind of might get a little monotonous and boring, and then something else you take on a different, maybe breeding or even YouTube videos or whatever, and it sucks you back in full 100% back in. I feel, you know what I mean? And it sounds like even through with the merchandising there, you found a way through cannabis to,
Yeah,
keep one foot in. You know
you
what
get
I mean?
into it, and it's I cannabis is my heart. It's my love. I like I said, I don't smoke anymore due to my lungs and stuff. If you pick smoking over breathing, I'm gonna pick breathing, I guess. But you know, with me, it's like I go a million miles an hour with my hair on fire, like I said. But I'll tell you when there's a point where the stress and stuff builds up and everything, and how I reset myself is psilocybin, the mushrooms. I don't microdose. Body highs freak me out. They make me weird. I like to go to a full blown trip. I have a great trip. Uh, go outside and enjoy the nature, or watch something crazy psychedelic on TV. Uh, but after a good hard trip, the next like 4 or 5 months, you're just like, I'm good. And some like right now, that's my thing is I love resetting myself every couple of months. It's there's nothing like the psilocybin.
See, I've been microdosing
Couldn't agree more.
daily, and it's just taken the weekends off, mainly to get through my bullshit day of the shit I have to deal with. And my weekends, when they're off, I don't really need to do it. But those were when I'll take a little bit larger dose when I'm out with friends. But I found that microdosing, quarter gram to half gram daily, um, like everything's just kind of changed the way I fucking see shit, my mood about stuff, like a lot of the nonsense that stress I used to deal with, I'm not dealing with it as much.
I found the
Yeah, I
same.
got a guy who has a lot of PTSD from being in the war and stuff, like in Iraq and all that, and he microdoses every single day, and he's completely fine. He's good in society. He doesn't. He's come back to me and told me that like because of you getting me this, like I live a normal life again. Just and he's not in it the trip. He's in it just to bring himself down to get out of that I don't know, the fight or flight syndrome or something that he's got going on. And he swears up and down that that's why he's still here and hasn't killed himself.
Well,
I,
that's
I think for any kind of like trauma, stress, or PTSD, man, it's truly an amazing transformative tool to have at your disposal. Yeah,
For
I'm
sure.
like Medfit. I do more microdosing stuff, but man, it's amazing what that's done to change my whole mindset and approach to life, and increase my positive attitude and everything. It's just great.
well, and that's the
Yeah.
nice thing with Colorado, how we legalize plant-based medicine. So we're able to have mushrooms and not have to worry about some of this. So we can therapeutically take it and not have to be worried about like we were saying back in the day, looking over our shoulder and the police and don't want to get caught with a bag of mushrooms. Well, now I don't have to worry about it if I have some on me.
Yeah. I'm in Oregon. I'm in the only county that legalized psilocybin. The rest of the state said no. But I don't know, maybe you guys are better off in Colorado, but like I've never gotten good microdosing here. Like it's always too much. And if I take some, I'm a little, just too much body highs while I'm trying to work. And
So there's a difference in the potency of the mushroom. Natalizance for one is not like cubenzits. This actually has three active compounds where most could be a cubenzits. It's psilocybin and psilocin. And like golden teachers test at 0.7%, where like Melmax test at 2.19%. So that's like every 1 gram of Melmac is almost 3 grams of golden teachers.
wow.
So when you're taking a microdose of Melmac at a quarter gram to half gram, that's way too intense. Most people, that's not a microdose at that point.
Right.
But if you took that same amount of 0.25 to 0.5 of golden teachers, you're going to get just like a happy pill, not a body high, just kind of like everything's what I would call when we smoke weed, fuck it. Like just a
Yeah.
better attitude about stuff and how you're going through your day and not having the stress or the overthinking and anxiety from it.
See, what I like to say is that like, right now people are just blending up mushrooms and throwing them in chocolates and gummies and stuff. And it's really having an exact dosing program isn't really there because essentially you're using biomass. It's extracting it and getting a pure extract of the dose in there. Like it's like using isolates with cannabis. You're at what I would consider pharmaceutical grade when you're hitting 99.9 or whatever you're purifying. You can microdose something exactly, and you know every gummy is what it is. Um, I've had people give me chocolate bars out here, and they're like, dude, just eat one piece, and I'm like, all right, and I eat it, and I'm like, I just ate chocolate. That's all it was. I ate another piece. I'm like, nothing happened. And another piece, nothing happened. And I have to bar in, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna go do something else, and nothing ever happens. But then someone will give me that same another one of that same bar, and I go and I eat two pieces. 'Cause I'm like, this bar sucks, and I eat two, and I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm tripping. It's all over the place, and so the dosing on that is. I mean, I'm sure in Colorado people are extracting them and actually getting them into a better
Well, we're
Uniform
doing
microdose.
doing it the extraction way and actually doing it in capsules, where the
yeah,
capsule size is your dose size. And so when you're filling up the capsules and like a point one is like a quarter gram on the scale or like 0.1 gram, it's less than a quarter gram. Well, then you can figure out your dosage a lot better using capsules and
right.
grinding things to a powder form and filling it that way instead of trying to do it in a chocolate bar. Because
Yeah.
that's a lot harder to figure out the exact dosage like you're talking about. We tried doing that with gummies for the DGC Cup that just happened up in Fort Collins, at Little Port area this past weekend. And we took an ounce of mushrooms per the package of gelatin, and then whatever the trays that we could fill, we just took that amount divided by like the 28 grams and tried to figure out what our dosage was. And it was a lot harder to figure it out versus the capsules.
Right. Right. Nonetheless, I love mushrooms.
That's why I'm really happy Colorado decriminalized so I can grow and make, because I do like a lot of the capsules for microdoses. And so I want to try different strains to grow, and I'm able to do that and not have to feel like, oh my God, it's horrible thing when it's not. It's a plant-based medicine and it's been used for hundreds of years in different ceremonies. And
Yep. I mean,
Thousands,
honestly, between cannabis
thousands.
and mushrooms, I mean, the world would be a better place if everybody partaked on both of those substances. A lot less stress, a lot less drama, a lot less crime.
well, wait till you get
We'd
into
all
the
get along.
realms of the DMT and the mescaline, because those
Yeah.
are like DMT is legal here, so more and more
Wow.
people are starting to produce it around here and make vape cartridges. We were just at that event this weekend that he actually had DMT cartridges. And that's
And
how far it's coming, that people are getting the extractions and putting in cartridges. Now it's like your vape for marijuana, but you're doing DMT. Like,
that's
holy
wild.
shit, that's wild.
It is wild. I mean, I mean, but that's part of the progress of stuff. I mean, like I said, back in the day, like Eagle was saying, like I had to have a handle and we were risking everything. And now that it's open, we can actually accept the science and learn how to properly manage this to people. And because we're not, making this in our basement just to get people, fucked up, we're able to actually help people. And that's why I'm still here. That's why I'm still in it, because I still believe in helping people. Like getting high, I when I was doing the manufacturing, whatever the customer wants is what I'm making. But I've always believed in it being more of a medicine than a recreational drug.
100%.
You know, the industry is all about just getting people fucked up. But when we were all doing this secretly through YouTube handles and all that other stuff, we were very focused on helping people. I mean, that's how the Charlotte Web guys were doing that.
Mhm.
They actually stuck their necks out there to be one of the first companies out there. And it was
That's
all
why we
about just
support
helping.
others for them.
It was all about help. And that's where, right now, like nothing on my site gets you high. Everything on my site helps your pain, helps your sleep, helps something for you on something that ails you. And I can get into the stuff that gets you high, but that's such a big market. It's like me trying to make a new beer right now. There's how many beers are out there, but how many things are out there that help people, besides Western medicine.
Also, anybody can get you high.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, and smoking a joint, getting high is great. I'm not knocking it one bit. Um, but I don't. I hope that people don't lose the focus on the medicinal benefits, over just a good time.
So I don't mean to be a party killer, but it is that time. And as you were mentioning events there, medically fit, me and myself and Mr. Smiley have an event to go to tomorrow at Gems and Genetics Soren Resort, Morley, Michigan. If you guys are in Michigan, come hang out with myself, my friends, Mendo Dope, Mr. Smiley, and a lot of other cool weed nerds will be there hanging out and smoking cannabis. If you'd like to come hang out at Soren's tomorrow. Nameless cheap plug there, but hopefully they enjoy that. But it is going to be a cool event. Mendo Dope always puts on a great show, and we'll probably do an interview at some point tomorrow with them, either pre-show or after show. We usually sneak one in. But
Tell those guys I said hi. It's been a long time since I've talked to them.
I absolutely will, bro.
And Eagle, we should try to get them on the show because they're cultivators too, and they grow organically.
They got into that
might be.
no-till, man. Yeah, I was one of their crutches.
I definitely have that in for sure. So yeah, so I have a shitload to do, including transplanting some of Smiley's Angels genetics back there. I've got 3 of the blue lime pie times. I can't think right off the top of my head, but I'm sure Smiley can. But as well as a bunch of other stuff.
Circus cookie.
There you go. Appreciate those, brother. I got so many of your genetics to work through, but I have a lot of shit to do. Otherwise, I'd just kind of let it aimlessly roll. But I do invite you to come back at some point, Paul, and hang out again. Maybe we'll take off with just the psilocybin talk because there's a good 2 hours right there of how the medicine heals through just that alone. But I appreciate all you guys. As we'll start with our guests, of course. Paul, you want to tell us where they can find you, website, how they can reach you if they need to. Of course, your website or the YouTube or Facebook and IG are in the link. But other than that, remind them how they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, solo-cbd.com is my website. I'm trying to get more and more products up on there. Obviously Brownguy420 4200 is my Instagram handle. I also have Solo Fabrication is my other Instagram handle, and Solo CBD is my other Instagram handle. I try to keep things a little bit broken up a little bit. And I mean, anybody can, direct message me if they have a question about anything. I don't always get back to people, really quickly. I'm a very busy person, but I will always usually get right back, get back to somebody within a day or two.
Right on. Let's kick it off. I guess medically fit. You want to start it out?
Yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube and Instagram both.
And Smileys _ garden on Instagram, smileys.angels.net for the seeds. And we got a coupon code right now, summer. So appreciate you guys.
And you can find me on YouTube here, the Pharmacy Seeds Network, pharmacy spelled Pharmacy, as in let food be thy medicine. I'm also on Instagram as Reboot Agriculture. And yeah, I'm building a huge new farm this year. So I don't know, check out the channel if you're interested in that sort of stuff. Thanks for coming on, Brown Guy. That was awesome. And Eagle, as always, thanks for bringing us along for the fun.
Thank you to all of you guys. This has been a treat for me. It's rare that I get to jump on these stuff. So thanks to Eagle for staying on me because you really got to like get me and reel me in because I get so caught up with life, you know. So it's been really fun. I really appreciate talking to all of you all.
Understandable, and much respect to you, sir. You can find me here on this. I mean, I'm run training and trying to get back on track on that endeavor. But I have much respect for everybody on this panel, very much so, and I look forward to our bi-weekly chats for this one and many future to come. For the most part, don't forget to do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. That is something super important. And for the rest of you guys, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow in Morley, Michigan at the Gems and Gen X event. Cheers, guys.